Alright, welcome everyone to this next lesson. In this video, we will look at how you can filter flows based on IP range. So for this example, I'm going to use destination IP ranges to identify egress traffic to specific destination IPs. You could also use the same to identify traffic from certain source IP addresses to workloads in your cluster. So in which type of scenarios would you want to use this? Now, most customers we work with tend to deploy clusters in cloud environments, and workloads in these clusters could often communicate with services or workloads in on-prem data centers. Okay, and if you want to identify traffic towards one of these data centers, you could use an IP-based filter or IP range-based filter to filter those flows. Okay. There are also cases where environments are broken into, let's say, pre-prod, production, QA, and in those instances, you want to make sure that your production workloads are not communicating with, let's say, workloads in the pre-prod environment and vice versa. And you could ensure that that's the case by looking for flows and filtering for flows based on those respective subnets. Okay. And there may also be instances where if you are suspecting some malicious behavior in your environments, you could filter for flows to identify things like IP address sweeps, right? That are could potentially indicate some sort of malicious behavior if a workload or pod is engaged in randomly sending flows to certain destinations in your network. Okay, so those are some of the examples, and let's look at how you could filter for such flows in the flow log dashboard. All right. So typically when you look at a Kubernetes environment, you're going to see a lot of flows. So over here, if I'm looking at, for example, unique source IPs or unique destination IPs, you're going to see quite a bit of flows, and this is normal in Kubernetes environments. As you know, you have a lot of traffic inside the cluster. Your workloads are also communicating with services and other workloads that are external to the cluster. Okay. So for this example, let's take a scenario where I want to filter traffic destined to a certain IP range. So I'm going to select the destination IP field in the flow log, and sorry, just give me 1 second. So let me select the destination IP field, and I'm going to say is in between 192.168.1.1, and I'm going to provide a range. In this case, I'm going to say 1.100, and I'm going to save and apply this filter. Let me increase my time range a bit, and as I do this, you can see that there's been a certain traffic spike. In fact, let me just expand this a bit more. Let me make it the last 1 hour. So there's been a certain traffic spike during this time window, and it was in fact when I was doing a certain IP sweep. So looking at the logs, you can identify the namespace sending traffic to this destination IP range. In my case, it happens to be the rogue namespace, and it looks like this namespace was sending traffic on port 80 and 443. And these were the IPs that traffic was initiated towards, and this is the source IP of the workload which did so. Okay. Now, if I go further down, I'm able to identify that the Kali Linux kind of deployment in my rogue namespace was what was involved in initiating those flows. Okay. So that's an example whereby we filter traffic destined to a particular IP range, right? You could do this using the source IP filter as well if you want to identify traffic coming in from certain sources. All right. Okay, so that's it for this example. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.